Hi, my name's David Wright and welcome to another one of my podcast episodes. And today I'm going to be talking about the strange but true story of how I found a dead body here in Spain. Okay, so yes, this is a true story, a bit of a sad one, but it's true, and this is my experience of finding a dead body here in Almeria. So many years ago, as most of you know, I was working as a carpenter and builder here, and one of the sidelines I had was offering a key service, a key holding service to people with apartments here, and also a locksmithing service to change locks and enter properties. I had done a course in the UK several years before and worked briefly as a locksmith for a hardware company in Brighton. So I used my experiences there to offer these services here in Almeria. So one day, a friend of mine, let's call him Peter, phoned me up to say that he had a friend of his that he was supposed to meet the day before. He didn't turn up. He'd phoned him. He'd been round to the place. It looked all locked up. There's something strange going on. It's not normal for this guy to be not responsive. So he was concerned and asked me if I'd meet him at the property to go and have a look and see if we could maybe get access to the building and find out what was going on. So I turned up at this apartment. It was around 10 o'clock in the morning. I had most of my locksmithing tools and carpentry tools with me prepared for trying to get in. I'd explained to Peter that, obviously, as it wasn't his property, I couldn't just break into the building without getting permission. So we found the president of the apartment block, and I had known this guy in the building. So, we explained what's going on, and he said, okay, that's fine. As Peter was also a key holder, but for some reason, Peter didn't have keys for the apartment. Normally, when this guy went away on holiday, he would give Peter the keys to go in and water the plants and things like that. But anyway, so I started to open the front door lock. There was two doors, one outer porch door and then an inner door to the apartment. It was a ground floor apartment. So the outer door was quite difficult to get into. It was an older lock. The locking system was very old and it didn't work properly anyway. In the end, I found it was best to just drill it out. So I drilled the lock out. That's the first door. And then the second door was a little bit easier. I managed to pick the lock on that one. And straight away, it was obvious what was going on. I'd seen that there was a body laying in the hallway near the lounge entrance. So I approached him, and it was the guy we were looking for, and he was dead. I checked for a pulse, no pulse. I touched him. He was very cold to touch, a little bit clammy, and his arm was very stiff. It was obvious that rigor mortis had set in. So I said to Peter, don't touch anything. We need to call the police. So I decided I'd call the police. Peter didn't speak Spanish. And then I thought, well, what is the police number? I wasn't sure of it. I've been there a few years, but I'd never had to deal with the police before. So I just remembered that the best number to call was the international emergency number, which is 112. It works pretty much anywhere in the world. So I called that number and got through to somebody that spoke English. She told me to go and check for a pulse and everything. I'd said I'd done that, let's do it again. So I did it again. I told her it was dead. And then she put me through to a medical person. I believe he was a doctor. He again asked me to do the same things. I told him the guy was dead. He said, how do you know? Are you a medical professional? I said, no, but I touched him. He's stiff, he's cold, there's no pulse. Okay, he said, stay there. We'll get a police officer to come out to you. A police car arrived with flashing lights and two police officers got out, came in, looked around, knelt down and did some checks on the guy and said, yeah, he's dead. They called for backup, and then another two police cars arrived with another 4 officers. So there's now 6 policemen walking around the apartment. They started to question us, and then an ambulance arrived with flashing lights. Neighbours started to come out, people started to look around what was going on. And this apartment was in the main street, so there's lots of passer-by starting to gather and see what's going on. Some people that knew this guy were standing around as well, wanting to find out what was going on. So it's all very awkward. And then the police questioned us and were quite surprised why we'd broken in, what was going on. But once we explained to them, then they sort of understood. The coroner's office arrived. This is all taken about 4 hours by now. It was a long morning. And the medical team, when they came, they put a defibrillator on him. I think it was they tried to shock him. Obviously, there was no response. So they put him in a body bag and took him away in this black van. And then some people started to go. There was just 2 officers left. They had taken some photographs of the apartment, things like that, and took a statement from both of us. And I locked up the property. I repaired the outer lock and locked the property up, gave the keys to Peter. And then a few days later, Peter phoned me to say that the police had been in touch with his next of kin. He had a son and daughter, and they were coming out that day to check on the personal paperwork and arrange everything for the funeral. The police had also said that they were happy that it was just natural causes. The guy was on quite a lot of medication. I'd known this guy for a few years as well. As well as knowing Peter, I knew this guy. He was quite a nice elderly gentleman here, and I'd given him a couple of quotes to do some work on properties for him, but never came to anything. So I sort of knew him. So a bit of a sad affair, really. But anyway, so yeah, that was the story of me. It was quite surprising, quite shocking, really, to find somebody like that. It's the first time I've found myself in that situation. But the main thing is to remember, if you ever need an emergency number, that's one of the best numbers you can call. 112 gets you through to all the services and gets you the help where you need it. They asked me for the direction. I wasn't sure the direction, but from my phone call they could pinpoint me. They had a pretty good idea, and the police literally took about 5 minutes. It was in a busy town area, so I suppose that helps as well. But yeah, with just 5 minutes the services were there. So if you ever come across a situation where you need emergency services, then if you don't know the exact number for fire, ambulance or the police, the best one to ring is 112. So yeah, surprising, strange but true story of how I found a dead body here in Spain.